A compassionate alpha is a parent who leads, doesn't push, protects, doesn't overpower, stays calm and kind and steady while holding firm limits, and provides the rest and safety children need in order to be children. Welcome to the Connect Method Parenting Podcast, where correction is out, connection is in, and your kids want to listen to you. I'm Andy Martineau, creator of Connect Method Parenting, here to help you stay calm, confident, and connected no matter what. Yo, everybody. How are you? I wanted to jump on and do a shorter episode, at least I think it's going to be shorter. We'll see how it goes, about the term compassionate alpha. I was recently asked to go on the morning show of the local television station here. I've been on a few times and I really love it. It's so fun to get on and talk about all things parenting. I was freaked out at first because I'd never done anything like that. And it's gotten easier and easier every time I've been back on. Thank goodness my nervous system has adjusted. This last time when she reached out to me, Brooke is her name. Brooke reached out to me and she said, "Hey, Andy, we'd love to have you back on. I found this quote from an actress. I don't remember who it is now. I probably should find out who it is. Maybe I'll pause and find out who it is because it was really interesting." I'm just going to not pause and see if I can pull up my emails right now because it was really interesting. Okay, here it is. I found it in real time as I'm recording. It was this quote by Robin Wright, and I recognized her face instantly. I'm not great with actresses and actors' names and faces, but she's from Princess Bride. If you've watched Princess Bride, she's the leading lady, and her name's Robin Wright. And Brooke sent me this little screenshot from E! News where it had a quote from Robin Wright, and she said, I have a huge regret as a mother and have experienced the fallout of this regret for many years with my kids. I wasn't hard enough on them." So Brooke sent me this quote and she said, "Hey, I found this quote. I think it's really interesting. What do you think? Could we do something around this idea of being hard enough on our kids?" And instantly I said, yeah, I love the idea of talking about this concept. I think it's brilliant. The balance between being firm and compassionate. To me, that's what Robin was saying in this quote is I needed to be maybe more firm. Maybe she's seen, and I don't know the details of what's going on with her kids, but maybe she's seen that they are feeling entitled or they don't know how to work hard. They are not having the boundaries that she wants or maybe the gumption to go do something. I'm not really sure why she gave this quote, but those are some of the things that came to my mind as possibilities because that's some of the things that they have seen with parents who are passive. Now, not the same things happen when you're too authoritative, but there is a whole nother set of negative things that come, the fallout of being too authoritative when you go to the other extreme. And years and years ago, I learned a term from Dr. Neufeld called compassionate alpha. Now, when he first said compassionate alpha, I thought, oh, no, we don't use alpha. That's a bad word. That doesn't feel very loving. That feels the opposite of compassion. That seems like that's the bully. That's the person who has to be in charge all of the time. But as I learned more about what the term meant, it's this role that we must play as parents. And it is hard. It's this balance between showing up as the leader, having firm limits because our kids need that, but also having compassion and knowing how to balance these things. It can feel so daunting. It's not something that's talked very well, I don't think, in society. It feels like we go from one extreme to the other. Even when people use the term conscious parenting, which I do love that term. I think it's a really beautiful way of being intentional about our parenting. It doesn't necessarily call out the need for being both compassionate and firm. I think it calls out the need to be intentional and aware, which is good. But going too far on one side or the other is problematic. So she said, "I've never heard the term. I think it's brilliant. Why don't you come in and talk about it?" And then she gave me some questions that she was going to answer or ask me rather about it based on more information I gave her. And it got me thinking after I did the show, which was about a week ago. It was on, when was it? It was September 19th or something. So it's been about a week. Anyway, I went on the show, I did it, and it was really fun to do it. They switched the way they do their show now locally. It used to be pre-recorded, which gave me some type of calmness because I thought, well, worst case, if I botch it, we can redo it. But this was live, which was fun, and there was no redoing it, which worked out just fine. Anyway, afterwards, she said to me again, and then she followed up with an email. She said, I just loved talking about this term. I think it's so needed. And as I was driving home, I thought, oh, I need to do an episode on this. I talk about it a lot. It's really important. It's also very challenging to wrap our brains around it. So I'm going to talk about it for this episode, and I'm going to use the questions that she gave me and share the answers that I gave on the show. She asked me 5 questions. I'm going to actually say the question, and then I'll give you my answer that I gave. So the first question she sent me after I explained a little bit about the term, she said, okay, you have a term that you talk about called compassionate alpha. What does it mean? And here's my answer. I said, when I say compassionate alpha, a parent who leads with both strength and warmth. Alpha doesn't mean domineering or controlling. It means the parent is the steady leader in the home. And compassionate means that leadership, that way of showing up as being in charge, is infused with love and infused with empathy and respect. So it's this sweet spot where our kids know, hey, my parent can handle me, they're in charge, and I can trust them with all of me. That combination creates so much safety in the nervous system, and it also creates deep attachment security. As Gordon Neufeld has said, in reference to this need for our kids to have trust in us as their leader, to have us be in charge. He says, children should not have to work for love. They should rest in it. And that's what compassionate alpha parenting provides, a safe place where a child can rest in safety and security, knowing they don't need to prove anything, they don't need to take care of anything. They just get to be them. Such a gift that we can give our kids. And their nervous systems need a safe place to feel their emotions, to explore, to push the boundaries. And we need to provide that environment for them to feel safe and to push boundaries and to know that there's limits. Now, the next question she asked me was, what is the potential impact if we go too far to one side or the other? So too soft, too passive, too hard, too authoritative. And my answer to this one was, if we go too soft, we slip into passivity. And our kids can sense that no one is in charge. And what this does is spikes their anxiety. Their nervous systems go into hypervigilance because they can feel that they have to do more, that they have to hold on, that they have to figure things out. They have to do more than they're even ready for. And so they can't relax, they can't rest. And oftentimes they go into alpha. They take charge. They go into needing to solve all the problems. But if we go too hard and we use fear or control to get compliance, even though that might work in the moment, it severs trust. Kids learn I have to protect myself. I can't rest in this relationship. I can't show all of myself. This relationship is not secure. When we don't hold the alpha role, our kids can't relax. They either cling anxiously or they try to take over. Both extremes are damaging. What kids really need is that middle ground, a parent who is unwavering but kind, compassionate, yet strong. Okay, third question she asked me. Let's explore the characteristics of this kind of parent, the markers of a compassionate alpha. And then she said, first you say they demonstrate firm leadership in a kind way. And I said, yes, firm, kind leadership is the first marker of a compassionate alpha parent. A compassionate alpha parent can say no with warmth. They can set a limit without shaming or threatening the relationship. And when they do have to set a limit, when they do show up with this warm leadership energy, their child's nervous system relaxes because children are wired to look for someone stronger and wiser to take the lead. It's like saying to your child through your presence, you don't have to be in charge. I've got this. You're safe. I'm figuring this out. I will take care of you. That balance of firmness and kindness builds trust and makes your influence sustainable, which is huge. That's what we want. We want sustainable influence. And we still need to have boundaries. So we have to be able to figure out how to set boundaries, how to be alpha, how to be confident without being authoritative, without being corrective, without being threatening, frustrated, upset, staying neutral, but staying firm. So powerful. The next question she asked me is, you like parents to remember the phrase connection over correction, which I do. I say this all of the time. And correction alone often backfires. It activates a child's defenses and it keeps them stuck in fight or flight. If we just go straight for correction, if we go straight to lecture, or we go straight to consequence, think about it for yourself. If there has been a moment where you've messed up, maybe you haven't been in the right, and someone has just gone right in that you don't have a relationship, that doesn't say it in a warm way and just goes into telling you what you messed up on and how you need to fix it, without the connection fueling that interaction, it's going to backfire. We probably are going to put our defenses up and say, I am not listening to this person. They don't care about me. But if we start with connection, that calms our nervous system. And when a child feels connected, they can hear us, they feel safe, they can take the guidance, and they can grow. Because we all need to get feedback. We all need to learn and grow. We're not going to get everything right, including our kids. So we're going to need to set limits. There's going to be a cause and effect to some of the choices they make. But we have to lead with connection. So connection over correction. And here's the thing, when we're correcting, quote unquote, them, it's often, not always, but often fueled by fear in us. Fear that our kids will never learn, fear that they'll be behind, fear that they're going to turn out wrong, fear that if we don't take advantage of this opportunity, they're not going to learn their lesson and they're going to keep doing this thing. That graspy energy leaks into our tone. It leaks into our words. It leaks into our body language. I like to think of it like seasoning. It seasons everything. And our kids feel it. They've now shown that there's these things in our brains called mirror neurons. And when we're feeling an energy, when we're feeling an emotion, like fear, frustration, irritation, it's fueling, it's flavoring the words and the behaviors. And we are so good at picking up on those signals between human to human. And our kids read us so much better than we would like them to. We might put on a show that we're not irritated, but if we are irritated inside, they're going to feel it. And so our work is to get to the bottom of what's causing our irritation that's not letting us just show up as the clean, compassionate alpha person, having the firm limit, but not making all this meaning, not getting all frustrated about it. So instead of safety, when we show up in that graspy, fearful energy, when we do correction first and then try to fake that we're not upset or not irritated, when we haven't built the relationship or reestablished the relationship in the moment, because you might have a fantastic relationship with your child, but in that moment, have you made sure that attachment, that relationship is intact, it has been reestablished? And if we don't do that first, and we go right into correcting, and the correcting is fueled at least a little bit by some irritation or frustration, then they're going to feel that. And instead of safety, their nervous system's going to read us as a threat. I would say also when we go to correction first, it's also fueled by a lack of confidence in ourselves as a parent. We don't trust ourselves. We forget that we're the alpha. We're grasping for control instead of standing in calm authority. Because if we're truly the alpha, then we carry confidence. We believe I'm the solution. I can figure this out. I don't need to panic. I don't need to force. I can guide my child with steadiness and clarity. That's the opposite of shaky correction first energy. So yes, correction has its place. We need to set limits is my preferred way of saying it. We need to get feedback, but only in the context of relationship. Connection is the channel that makes all of our influence possible. It earns us the right to guide and influence and impact our children. There's this parable, I think it's an Aesop fable maybe, where it's called The Wind and the Sun, I believe, where the wind and the sun have this little conversation about who can get this traveler's coat off first. And the wind is like, oh, let me go first. I'm going to just blast him with a bunch of wind and it's going to fly right off. And so the wind goes down to earth and does its thing. It's blasting its wind. And all it does is the traveler pulls his coat on tighter. And eventually the wind says, never mind, I give up. This is not working. I can't force the traveler's coat off with sheer power. Then the sun says, okay, let me give it a try. And all the sun does is from a distance, warms the traveler up, and the traveler takes the coat off willingly. Connection is the sun. It's what softens defenses. It's what makes growth possible. It's what gets our kids to want to cooperate, want to listen. It allows us to have impact and influence. So it's got to be connection over correction every time. And the last question she asked me was around the calmness that I told her this kind of parenting gives us. Because it really does. It gives us this calm confidence, this feeling of satisfaction and fulfillment that you don't get when you feel like the director, when you feel like you're having to be the manager of all the kids' emotions. And I would say that the ultimate responsibility for the relationship rests with the parent, not the child. To me, that's where some of this calmness comes from, is realizing, hey, I am responsible for making sure this relationship is good. My child is immature right now. So can I take the responsibility of this relationship on? And can I do it from a place of confidence and certainty? Yes, that calmness comes from us growing into the most emotionally mature person in the room when we realize it's my job to make this work. Now, that means, in part, not making our child's words or behaviors, their messes, mean something about them or us. It's seeing all of that as information. We're not collapsing into shame. We're not lashing out into blame. We take ownership of what's ours. That calmness also comes from us doing our work ahead of time. So preparing ourselves for worst case scenarios so that we can show up and not lose our mind, because we know we're the compassionate alpha. We got this. I can handle the worst case scenarios. I can handle the emotions that are coming up. And also knowing what to do when we do go off track, because we're going to lose our cool sometimes. We're human. And the calmness that comes from knowing what to do when we mess up as a parent, when we blow up, when we give the lecture, when we yell, when we don't behave in a way that is good or awesome, when we feel like we have really shown up immature. And we're human. So we're going to do that sometimes. We're going to get an IRS bill and we're going to be on edge about that. And our kids are going to do something and we're going to blow up. It's going to happen. But when you are embodying the compassionate alpha way of being a parent, calmness comes because you know how to repair. When you do mess up, you know how to take responsibility. When you're the one who yelled, and you know how to reconnect, you know how to create safety again in the relationship. I would say the calmness that exudes from being a compassionate alpha also has to do with knowing that you can handle any emotion. I can handle it. I can feel it. I can process it. I don't have to make it a big deal. If we can allow ourselves to feel all of our emotions, and we know that the worst thing that can happen in parenting is that we feel an emotion or we think a thought, and we can notice those thoughts and we can feel the emotions without letting them hijack us, without letting them flood our nervous system and trigger us into a fight or flight reaction, that we can hold steady. That's ultimate calmness. That confidence that no matter what happens, we can handle it or we can repair it. And our kids can rest and trust and learn in that kind of energy. That is ultimate calmness. That feels so good. So let's recap. Children are wired to look for someone to take the lead, assume responsibility, and provide direction. This is what we call the alpha position. It's the role of being, quote unquote, in charge, not in a domineering way, but in a way that conveys, you can count on me, I will take care of you, you don't have to be in charge. Now, the alpha stance is not harsh, authoritative, or adversarial. It's infused with warmth, empathy, and sensitivity to the child's emotional reality. Compassion ensures that the authority is safe and trustworthy. A compassionate alpha parent is going to lead with confidence and kindness. They're going to provide firm boundaries without shame and assume responsibility for the relationship. They don't demand respect or obedience. They invite it through connection and trust. So if the adult doesn't occupy this role, the child often takes over the alpha position themselves. So they're going to become bossy. Maybe they'll become resistant or oppositional. That counter will is actually a developmental alarm that the adult needs to step back into the lead. So in short, a compassionate alpha is a parent who leads, doesn't push, protects, doesn't overpower, stays calm and kind and steady while holding firm limits, and provides the rest and safety children need in order to be children. All right, y'all. That is what I have for you today. A little conversation about one of my favorite terms, the compassionate alpha. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Go connect with your kids, and we'll talk to you very soon. Bye, guys. If you enjoyed this episode, you're going to want to check out the 8-week parenting pivot, which is the first phase of my program, the League of Extraordinarily Connected Parents. We're opening up a new round in October. So if you're listening to this live, it's going to be October 7th. If you're listening to this and that date has passed, go check out the website, connectmethodparenting.com, and we'll list the next time we're opening. But if you're listening to this live, go check it out because you can already apply and get accepted into the next round so that you can lock yourself in place to have a huge shift with your kids, to get them to want to listen to you, which is very different than using punishments, rewards, timeouts, ultimatums to get them to listen to you. We want it to be more cooperative. We want better listening. We want a great relationship, and we want to have a ton of fun when we're parenting. So if that's what you want, if what I talked about in this episode resonated, jump over to cmp.works/pivot. I'll put the link in the show notes as well, and find out more about the pivot, apply to join, and we'll let you know if you get in. All right. Until next time, go connect with your kids, have a blast, and pop back in for another episode soon about how to use connection, not correction, to get your kids to want to listen to you. See you later. Bye.